Hi everyone, Allison Day here today, and I've got a couple of Christmas cards to share with you. And I know it's just the beginning of November, but if you're going to be making your Christmas cards, then you're probably already thinking about getting started. So I've got a couple of cards to share for you. They are using some Stampin' Up! Supplies that I have in my stash. I used to be a demonstrator for Stampin' Up!, so that's why I have so many of their supplies left. But obviously you don't have to use their supplies, and there's lots of manufacturers that sell similar things to what I want to show you today. So this card, I'm going to take you through this sort of start to finish. And it's just a very, very simple single layer card, but it's got a lot of impact is the best way to put that. And with just some very simple techniques. So I'm going to share that one with you today. This one is sort of like a stepped up card. It's also quite flat. I haven't used any dimensional adhesive or anything like that, so it'll mail really easily. But it is a little bit more time consuming and uses some more product and more techniques. So I just wanted to share a couple of the things that I've used that I know other manufacturers make. I just happen to have Stampin' Up!, like I said. So these ornaments, it's kind of a two-step process. And I'm just throwing everything on the floor here. So it's a combination of a stamp set and then a coordinating die set. And you can see here, that's the one I used to create that one. Okay, so all the different shapes are in there. And then you can sort of create multiple different layers on top of each other, that kind of thing. There is a second pack of stamps. It just has a few more options to decorate your stamps. So I took some cream cardstock, and then using these 3 stamps, I just stamped it in the same color, and then I took the coordinating dies for these shapes, cut it out of a coordinating piece of pattern paper. Last year, Stampin' Up! Had this great little pack of paper. It's a 4x6 size. As you can see, I didn't use very much of it, but there's lots of great colors and patterns. Traditional red and green, and then the sort of icy blues as well, which is kind of nice. So I just used coordinating colored paper, did this sort of double layer, and then just to dress it up a little bit, I tied a twine bow, and then I used some liquid pearls, or whatever they're called, to just add a little bit of shine and texture on each ornament, and then to create this sort of string that the ornament's hanging from. The Noel is from a different stamp set. One like this is really great if it's got lots of different sentiments, because then you can mix it up on your cards. And I just embossed it. I'm not sure if that's showing up on the camera or not, but I just embossed it in brown embossing powder. So really simple. Well, okay, this one's a little bit more time consuming, but it's still very effective and not too hard to do. So that was that one. I'll just put that aside. And I'll show you this one. And we'll go through this one. Like I said, this is a single layer. But it's got lots of impact, and I'll show you how you can get that. So we're going to start off with cutting the papers that you need in the sizes that you need. So I'm just starting with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of craft cardstock, and I'm just cutting it right in half. So I'm lining it up at 5.5. Save the other half for another card. This is the type of card that you can make assembly line. So cut your cardstock all at the same time, and then you've got a whole bunch of card bases. And I'm simply folding it in half, using my bone folder to score it. And there's your card base. You can lay that aside. So I want this bottom layer to have sort of 1/8 of an inch border around it. So I'm going to cut this to 5 1/4. And 4. And you can see when I lay it on my card base, I have a really nice 1/8 of an inch border around it. Now I just want to darken the edges of this a little bit. I'm going to get my Early Espresso ink and a sponge. I use these sponges. I know that, you know, the Tim Holtz whatever has the ink applicators, but honestly, I find this just as easy. I have one for sort of the colors that I use most. So I have like one brown one, one gray one, and a blue one or something. So. Okay, so that's the bottom layer. My next layer is my cream cardstock. And again, I want to have an 1/8 of an inch border around it. So this one we cut to 5 1/4 by 4. So I want to cut this to 5 and 3 3/4. And then I'll just check, make sure I did my math right. Yep. And then I'll put that dark edge around it, and then I'll show you how I got the rest of it after I do my stamping. Okay, so now it's time to do my stamping. I'm just going to get a piece of paper to put underneath. As you can tell, this one is what I used to do my stamping before. And I'm using another stamp set from Stampin' Up, which is a really fun one. It's a double stamp. So you got the trees, so you can have you can stamp that in a lighter shade and put a darker outline. There's the words, which is what we're going to use today, and then a sentiment and a little star. And I'll show you a fun thing I'm doing with the star. So I've already got them on my blocks. And I got some green ink, and I'm going to stamp my tree first. I like to check and make sure that I've got full coverage of my ink. And I'm going to place it towards the bottom of the card, try and center it as best I can. Of course, doing this on camera, who knows what's going to happen. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment at the same time. And it's just a very simple, it says Merry Christmas. And I want it up near the top. Try and get it as straight as possible. Here we go. And now I'm going to get ready to emboss. First, I'm going to take my embossing buddy and just rub it over the card. And that gets rid of any static, basically. So that my embossing ink will stick nice, my embossing powder, sorry, will stick nicely. Try and line this up as best I can. Now obviously you can't really see that. You won't be able to see it until I put the embossing powder on it. So I've just got some brown embossing powder. I'm just going to sprinkle it on quite liberally. And then we're going to tap it off. And if you got any little bits from the edges of the stamp, just take a small paintbrush and brush them away, preferably before you get your inky smudged fingers on it. I'm going to take the excess embossing powder and just dump it right back into my container. And now I'll emboss this. Sorry, it's going to get kind of loud. So that's all done. Now I'm going to show you how I got the little gold on it. Because I was looking for gold embossing powder, but I didn't have any in my stash. What I do have though is, hang on, I'll get it down. Heidi Swapp Gold Lame Color Shine. And I thought, I wonder if I could use that on here. So I just poured a little bit into a tray. Let me just mix it up again. And then the stamp set comes with this little star stamp, and I just dabbed it in there. And then very carefully stamped it on top of my tree. And it didn't show up super well, but you still got the outline of it. So I'm just taking a paintbrush loaded with some of the Color Shine, and I'm filling it in as carefully as I can. And then I took the same paintbrush. Oh, you know what? I forgot a step. Let's do the inking first. So to get this sort of distressed edge, I really love Stampin' Up! Soft Suede ink. I gotta say, it is the best color that I found to do the distressing. So I'm just going to start off the page and come in. And I'm just sort of doing little circles. And then you just add more till you get the effect you want. Super simple. Now I'm going to paint that same Gold Lame around the edges. And I just loaded up my paintbrush, and I'm just dragging it along the edge. You don't need a ton. Once it dries, the effect is really something. Okay, so I think you can see that already. I mean, it's just a beautiful gilded edge. And it's super simple. And there you go. Now we just got to assemble the card. I'm just going to put that off to the side and let it dry, and I'll start sticking down these other pieces. So you're just going to try and center it as best you can. And I think I will apply tape to this instead of the back of the card, because it's probably still a tiny bit wet. And there you go, finished card. Very simple, but I gotta say, this is kind of one of my favorites that I've made so far. So, happy card making, and if you look below this video, there'll be some close-up shots of the cards. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.